Just imagine that we are able, based on our own personal abilities, our brain development, and the connection that we have with the Akashic Records, that is as if we are able to enter the mind of God or the mind of Buddha. Is infinite.
Hi, I'm Swara, and welcome to the Akashic Records Unlocked Summit, where you can heal your past, realize who you are meant to be, and live an extraordinary life. I'm so excited today to introduce to you a very special guest, Ernesto Ortiz. Ernesto is an Akashic Records teacher and consultant, and truly a pioneer in the space of the Akashic Records. Welcome, Ernesto. Thank you so much for being here.
It is my pleasure, Swara. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. This is such really an honor to have you here and have this talk about the Akashic Records.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'd love to get into it about the Akashic Records. You really have truly been a pioneer in this space, really spreading the message of the Akashic Records. So can you tell us first off, what are the Akashic Records?
Would it be okay to backtrack just a little bit?
Of course.
And may I ask you something, and which I will also ask for everyone that listens or to sees this interview to do? Will be okay?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay. So what I would like you to ask you then is to close your eyes for a moment.
Okay.
And let's together take a nice, deep, long breath. And as we exhale, let's drop our attention, the totality of our attention, into our hearts. And allow our hearts to be wide open to receive and to give. And trust that the guidance that we're going to receive is the one that is just perfect and right for us. By being in the space of the heart and not so much in the space of the mind, we will be able to assimilate more the frequencies, the information that are available to us. So it's out of the space of the heart that I would like to continue this interview with you. So let's together take another deep breath. And here we go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ernesto. I love that, dropping into that energy. What a blessing. So yes, can you tell us more about what are the Akashic Records? How does healing happen in the Akashic Records?
Okay. It's a big question. What are the Akashic Records? You know, to understand what the Akashic Records are, I believe that we must first understand what Akasha is. So Akasha is this substance that is everywhere in the entire universe. In 2003, there was a symposium in Milan, Italy, led by Professor Erwin Laszlo, and many scientists, quantum physicists, etc., got together. And they finally determined at a scientific level that there is a substance that exists everywhere in the universe that is very thick, and it moves from past to present and continues into the future. And the primary function of this energy, which they call the Akashic fields, is to record information of anything that has a vibrational frequency of aliveness. And everything is alive in the universe. So to understand Akasha is our ability to understand beyond what we are capable of understanding, which is the totality of everything that exists in the universe, from the largest of planets, the largest of galaxies that exist anywhere, everywhere in the universe, to the smallest molecule that we can find even within ourselves. All of that energy is wrapped around it like a membrane that holds everything together. So from this very large and vast field, which the primary function of it is to give and perceive love and record the information, then we can understand that we can reduce that energy from the universal, that multiverse, and the quantum leaps that we can take in consciousness to arrive at those higher levels of frequencies that are normally not available to us. If we can grasp that large understanding, we can begin to reduce that to the planet. So let's just talk about, Mother Earth, Mama Gaia. And this is an organism that is alive and has been alive for hundreds of thousands of years. So the output of energy that the planet is giving is being recorded in the Akashic fields. Then we can reduce that one more time from planetary to cultural. And we can see how different cultures from around the world have a unique program, whether it's of violence, whether it's of art, whether it's of, the many different things that cultures experience for hundreds of thousands of years around the world. So we can say that they have a collective Akashic energy that they are manifesting constantly. Well, that energy is being recorded based on that culture, so that culture has Akashic records. Now we can reduce it one more time from the cultural to the family. And this is when it begins to get really interesting, because we can observe and see the dynamics that have taken place over many lifetimes with different families, the interactions between brother, sister, mom, dad, and all that, and the different roles that we play with each other, the karma that is generated, this is black or white karma that is being generated by the family, and that family has also Akashic records based on the energy that that family puts out. Then we reduce it one more time to our personal field. And every action, every thought, every imprint that we leave behind passes through, let's say, a filter that is an emotional filter. And that emotional filter, when it gives this energy out, is being recorded in the Akashic fields. But now we understand that those Akashic fields exist everywhere, and they have the ability to record information. So when it gets down to the personal level, now we can talk about the Akashic records at something that is very personal and unique of each one of us. So the Akashic records are the progression of our soul's evolution from the moment of the inception of the soul to this present moment. So just think of the many, many, many different lifetimes that we have gone through to be able to end up right here, right now. So this is the sum total of all of our life experiences and the final outcome of the achievement or lack of from previous lives that is manifesting in our present. So we are living and working through the best that we can through this karmic evolution based on energetic imprints that we have given life in the past, and we're definitely given life in the present.
Beautiful, beautiful. When you describe it that way, from such a grand level, all the way coming down to our access point, which is through ourselves, our own Akashic records, to be able to go in and access all of that. I can just imagine the depth, the breadth, the vast field that you're talking about of the Akashic records. I really get a sense of that. And
just imagine that we are able, based on our own personal abilities, our brain development, and the connection that we have with the Akashic records, that is as if we are able to enter the mind of God or the mind of Buddha. Is infinite. Is infinite. So how much capacity do we have to understand the vastness of that? I would say very, very, very little.
Right.
But also the encouragement is that we can all attain much, much higher levels of consciousness in order to achieve or to connect with deeper levels of understandings of what Akasha can provide for us.
Right. Beautiful. Well, that is my next question. What is the purpose of us accessing the Akashic records, and how can that help us? What is that for?
Well, there's countless of benefits that come in if we are able to access our own personal Akashic records. But I just mentioned that Akashic Records are past and present and the possibilities of future events. So to me, the Akashic Records are the single best tool to clean our negative karma. You know, that just doesn't get any better than that. You know, I have been into spirituality all my life since I was, I guess, 8 years old or something. And I have learned so many different techniques, so many different tools. I love to be in the presence of teachers and assimilate their wisdom. And out of everything that I have ever learned, to me, the Akashic Records are by far the most powerful instrument or tool to access, you know, the events or the conditions that we created in the past. Let me just show you something. Blank piece of paper. Here I'm going to put a dot, a cross. Here another one. So this is past, and this is past, and this is present. Okay, so we see it like this. So this is the present and this is the past. In a normal traditional way of thinking, we think on a linear way. So to get from the past to the present, we embark on a journey that is linear. And this can take a very long time. If we are in the present and we want to resolve something that happened in the past with someone, maybe that we got angry in one occasion and we punched a friend and that ended the friendship, or when we were kids, another kid had a better sandwich at school than us and we punched him in the face and took away his sandwich. Well, what are the consequences of those actions in the past? And to arrive at a point of resolution from the past to the present, the Akashic Records allow us to bend time. And this is, to me, the most magical thing, that we can eliminate the linear way of thinking to arrive at a point in which we can bend time. And by bending time is the us in the present with the consciousness that we have now, today, that we can go back to the moment in which we create that harm to somebody else. And then the us in the now is capable of dialoguing with the us back then. And then that us back then is capable, with the understanding that we have today, to ask for forgiveness. And that is one of the most important aspects of life, forgiveness. So when we ask for forgiveness to that individual that we cause harm to, we are removing the karmic imprint that we created back then, and we can liberate ourselves as well as the other person, so we can move into our future with greater amount of personal freedom.
That's beautiful. It's really amazing. Thank you so much for the visual as well. I'm a very visual person, so I really understood that idea of, bending time, even removing time. Time wasn't even in that picture anymore once you had those 2 points come together. Correct. And then to access those moments, to sort of rewrite them, change them, alter them, take them to a higher level of forgiveness, of loving, that has the ability, is from what I'm understanding from you, that has the ability to actually change everything, the energetic of everything that happened within the fold, within that fold of that paper.
Yeah, what is important to understand as well is that the action can never be eliminated, can never be erased. Okay, if I was a bully, which I wasn't, but if I was a bully at school and I went and punched other kids, well, that action can never be eliminated. But the feeling or the emotion left behind, that emotional imprint, which is what lingers, is what is important. And that in itself is what needs to be, what can be eliminated with a dialogue, forgiveness, writing a letter, sending it to that person, or simply acknowledging that this is what I'm doing by sitting in meditation. And I visualize you, that person, and then I go into the exercise of bending time, dialoguing with that person, and then remove the energetic charge.
Beautiful. That's wonderful. You've mentioned now a few times these words, forgiveness, love, and it seems like that is such a big part of the work that can be done in the Akashic Records. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, forgiveness is, or lack of forgiveness, I should say, it's an energy that binds you to other individuals. So if you, in all of my classes, I ask, especially in the level 1 class, how many of you have issues of forgiveness? And a good 95% of the people raise their hand. And I always say, the other 5%, you're probably in denial, unless you have really worked at this.
Mhm.
But, you know, to understand that if there is 1, 2, 3, or 10 individuals that you have issues of lack of forgiveness, that it is you, the one that is putting out a link or a chain that is binding you between you and that individual. So you will never be able to progress beyond the length of that chain that is binding you to another individual. So if you want to progress, to go further in your spiritual life, then it's a must that we must look at forgiveness as something that needs to be addressed. Once we look at that, you know, and of course, many people say, well, I can never forgive that person because it's too toxic. You know, what I'm not saying go and befriend that person again. You know, there are people, unfortunately, that are toxic in life, and so be it. That's just the way it is.
Mhm.
And they're moving along their own spiritual evolution, karmic evolution at the level and the speed that they can.
Mhm.
But we are the ones that are conscious. We are the ones that are waking up. And if we are waking up, then it's our responsibility. And what is responsibility? To be able to respond to any one thing with the ability to go beyond where we have been in the past.
Beautiful.
So when we engage in this way, we remove that link and we give that person, you know, the opportunity to experience personal freedom without the binding chain between them and us. And of course, we, by eliminating the chain or that link, we can progress in our own spiritual evolution. Lack of forgiveness has many, many, many implications. You know, you did this to me, I am going to do it to you. And because you did this to me, now I have resentment. Mm-hmm. And resentment is to think that someone is going to drink a glass of poison, when in reality, it is us, the one that is drinking the poison ourselves. So from resentment, then we go to anger. From anger, we can go to rage. And from rage, we lose consciousness completely. And then criminal acts are created based on that rage and that unaware energy that we're putting out into the world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. As you describe all of this, when you talk about the forgiveness, you talk about being free from that chain, I could definitely feel in my body that opportunity, the expansion that's possible, the loving that's possible, this expansive space that happens as you go through that process. So that's amazing. You know, when you talk about the Akashic Records, they do seem like such a vast place, a vast field, a vast resource that's available to us. And yet we're these humans, right? We're living our lives with our little issues and things. Like, how do we translate that? How do we access something that's real, that's in a place that is that vast? Are there mechanisms in place? How do we do that? How do we work with that?
Well, there are certain individuals that are gifted and they have the ability to connect into the Akashic fields and retrieve information from those fields. These are some shamans, visionaries, mystics from all walks of life. We have known about Edgar Cayce, Nostradamus, Madame Blavatsky, and so many others that have that ability. You know, I don't have that ability. In fact, when I was about 17 years old and my third eye was opening up based on what I was doing at that time, that I saw more than what I was capable of handling. And I said, never again, I don't want to see this. Mm-hmm. So for me, the Akashic Record prayer that I learned, that I use when in the classes that I teach, is what starts creating a mind frequency that will allow new bundles of neurons in the brain to be developed that have the capacity to connect to higher frequencies. So this is very, very individual, because of, each one of us has different mental capacities, different levels of education. Someone that is a scientist has a higher degree of understanding of certain things that than an accountant cannot have. But the level of understanding of an accountant is different from that of a scientist or a teacher like me. So we are all moving, in different places. So we are not all in the oneness of vibratory frequency in our mind in terms of the capacity to understand. So when we use the Akashic Record prayer to start getting in and out of the Akashic Records, is imagine that Akasha is a building with 200 stories. We have the capacity to go to the top floor, to the penthouse, but we have to enter from the ground floor. So it's this gradual expansion of the mind that takes place when we get in and out of the Akashic Records. And it's a very chemical process. It's beautiful that the Akashic Records are a mystical, a spiritual tool, but it's also a very, very down-to-earth chemical process that is taking place in our brains. Our brains are composed of hundreds of thousands of millions of neurons and neurotransmitters that many of those have been burnt or severely damaged due to stress. So when someone is, we talk about love. So you have a bundle of neurons right here that says love, 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 love. But then if something happens in life, you lose your loved one, you lose your son, your daughter, something happens. Well, that love is now goes to the back burner. And then we enter the space of grief. And then we start identifying more with grief, and the love takes second place. So what the Akashic Records can help us do and understand is that those bundles of neurons that were dormant or got damaged based on the stress that we experience, we can begin to reconnect those neurons by sitting with their Akashic Records open. And at the same time, begin to create new bundles of nerve cells or neurons and neurotransmitters in our brain that when we read the prayer and we enter into that deep inner center space, it gives us the capacity to not walk from the first floor to the 200th floor up and down the stairs, but to take an elevator that is taking us up and up and up based on our own particular abilities. Now, if you think of a 200-story building, just imagine how much information is in each one of the floors. So no matter if you're a beginner or an advanced Akashic Record reader, or if you have been doing a spirituality for many, many years, in every floor that we enter, I have been doing Akashic Records for more than 30 years. Well, if I enter the first floor, I'm not going to go, Paul, I've been there before. That is pure ego. I know that I can gain some wisdom, some knowledge from the first floor. But if I have the capacity to go to the second, third, 20th, 100th floor, then my ability to see beyond is there. So what we can see from the first floor is relatively narrow or close. But when we get to the 10th, the 20th, the 50th floor, then our capacity, our vision completely expands and opens up. So we can then assimilate, and see other things that we were not be able to see or appreciate before.
Wow, that's powerful. And so for our audience who may have already been in their Akashic Records and know how to access that first floor, or maybe for people who haven't yet accessed their records and are interested, how would you recommend expanding that capacity so that we can move deeper into the Akashic Records to go to the second floor, third floor, or more?
Yeah, go to a qualified teacher. Go to a qualified teacher that is teaching this material with integrity from the heart, that is able to give you the complete and total information for the student to have the full understanding, no questions, you know. So when you have that full understanding, read a good book, but books are limited because they are, they're just mental material, you know. Books don't really have the capacity to create, well, they do in a way, but to have access to a teacher is what is going to give you the more direct impact of information. So when you learn, in my case, the Akashic Record prayer that I teach, then that is going to little by little start reconnecting the bundles of neurons. And, you know, then just follow the right exercises, create a sincere spiritual practice. I call it the 3 Ds. You must have discipline, dedication, and devotion. You know, if you apply the 3 Ds every single day in your life, no excuses, no social media, no nothing, just do your practice every single day, you will see that by doing your practice with your Akashic Records open, the process is going to be much faster. Your brain is going to rejoice with sacred energy entering the brain. I wish I had the ability to show you some slides, some pictures of the brain of someone that is under severe stress. And you can see the image of the brain being red and black and kind of withering. And then I can show you a picture of one of my teachers, you know, Pakyat Rinpoche, and you can see his brain completely illuminated like rainbows of colors.
Wow.
But you also see in this slide, which was taken under medical conditions, etc., you see a beam or a shaft of light entering into the brain. And when that shaft of light hits the brain, pow, it just gets illumined like that. So, I mean, I don't think I have that brain yet, you know, but I am working towards it, you know. But if there's one individual alive that is able to accomplish something like that, then I know that I have the capacity to do the same. What is the difference? Yeah. Discipline, dedication, and devotion. So if we do that little by little, we're going to see that we progress, and suddenly we sit there in meditation with our Akashic Records open, and pow, you know, the first floor is wide open. We can explore it. It's as if we can fly like Superman above it and just see everything. But then we can go up and down the fields, and from each of the fields gain more information that is going to be valuable for us to be able to help and to share with others.
Beautiful. I'm really appreciating what you're saying about the 3 Ds. I think that is actually my own personal experience. And so for you to say that and identify that, put words behind that, that's really helpful. It's powerful. And I've known the Akashic Records in the way that you spoke maybe more in the beginning of this interview, being able to help us, you know, on a mental level, answer questions, on an emotional level, clear up some pain around incidences that have happened, and also looking into past lives to clear like energetic blocks and things. But when you talk about the actual physical brain creating connections, like that the Akashic Records can actually help to, I'm not sure what to call it, but like upgrade our physical, you know, our actual being, ourselves, our neurons. That is a powerful thought, that the Akashic Records have that ability. I'm just a little bit blown away right now.
Well, the Akashic Records is, you know, we need to reboot our brains. You know, that, you know, especially during these times that we are living, which, you know, there's so many emotions that go up and down and this and that. I mean, you know, we are bombarded, emotionally speaking, from every angle of life. And if our brains have been compromised, if you have been in the space of fear, insecurity, doubt, anger because of this or because of that, what this person says about the vaccine or not, or whatever, anything like that, then you are not in your center, you know? And how can we possibly make decisions that are the right decisions for ourselves if we are not in our center, if we have been moved in this direction or in that direction? So the key to me is to be able to eliminate as much as we can all of that nonsense and be able to enter into the space of the heart, and by being able to be in the space of the heart, then the heart as the main muscle, can communicate with the brain. So, the longest journey that we can take in life is from here to here, So if we're able to arrive at the space of the heart, and from the space of the heart, be able to understand the mechanics of the brain, and understand that the brain is like plastic, it can be molded. So if you have an object that is made out of plastic, is rigid and is solid, but it can change. So if we start applying the right amount of heat to that plastic, little by little, it's going to start getting softer and softer. So something that has been rigid can be molded to have greater capacity than what it had before. And that is the function of our brains, to be able to take the stress that we have experienced in the past and to leave it where it belongs in the past, and to allow the brain chemistry of sacred words when they enter our brain. It's a vibrational frequency. It's encoded sacred geometry that are within the words of the sacred prayer. And that is, to me, very important. The source of the prayer, where did this prayer comes from, and to understand that the original source of that prayer was deeply connected to the Akashic fields, to the Akashic masters, and that individual at that time was able to download or to receive a sacred prayer. In the same way that Buddhists have received sacred prayers for the Om Mani Padme Hum, the mantra of compassion, and dozens of others, right? They carry a very specific, unique frequency. So when we read the prayer, what we're actually doing is we are reactivating the neurons and the neurotransmitters in our brain so we can have greater access or greater mental capacities. And that is what this is about, is to know that yes, that we are taking something that is connecting us to the possibility of what is. And the moment that we connect with the possibilities of what is, and we're in the space of the heart, and we're in the space of an allowing mind, then nothing says that this bending time, doesn't take us back to be in the presence of a Buddha or a Christ, because everything is here. The dust that we have outside, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, is all recycled. This is all we have. It's not we're pumping water from another planet or air from another planet, and we have new oxygen all the time. So we can say that the air that we are breathing today is the same air that at one time Jesus Christ breathed.
Yes.
Or Padmasambhava or another enlightened individual. So we can deeply connect with the essence of enlightenment to be able to go beyond. And to me, the most important aspect of all of this is, how can you help? How can I help? What can I do in my life to leave this planet in a better shape, in a better way that I am experiencing today? And do whatever it takes to do that. And the Akashic Records, with that expansion, gives us the capacity to be more compassionate, more tolerant, more kind, and hopefully master our emotions and arrive at a point of equanimity.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Everything that you've said, it's such a message of hope, of transformation, of possibility that you're talking about. I think this is a beautiful place to take a pause. So it looks like that we're coming up to the end of our time, but I believe that you've brought with you today a very generous gift for all of our audience. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I am gifting the Hue meditation. Hue is H-U. And Hue is one of the 144th, 100th names of God, the divine. So, the Sufis, for example, chant and whirl to the hue as the ultimate vibration of the universe. The hue is like the ohm, is the frequency that exists everywhere in the universe. So I, at the beginning of the interview, talked about, the universe, Akasha and all that. So with the word hue and chanting the hue, we're able to connect to higher frequencies based on the vibrational frequency of the word. And then we can begin to take those frequencies as we chant the word hue and bring it internally to put it anywhere that we need to put it, in our mind, in our physical body or whatever. So it's a beautiful meditation that can help, individuals get into their center. And I use it a lot in my life. So, I hope that your listeners, your viewers enjoy it as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. That's a very generous gift. I'm sure all of our audience will really enjoy that. Actually, before we go, though, I'm actually hearing a lot of guidance right now to ask you one more question. Is that all right with you?
You can take the next hour with me if you like.
Okay, wonderful. And that is, in the beginning, you spoke about people who are really accessing into the Akashic Records, the Edgar Cayce's and Nostradamus and these people. And now the Akashic Records, we're all so many of us now are tapping into it. More and more people are learning about the Akashic Records. And so how we're interacting with the records is sort of evolving. And so at this time, where there is so much change happening out in the world, at this time, as the information is getting out there and more people are accessing, what do you believe is the future work with the Akashic Records? Where are we all heading with all of this?
Hopefully to a more tolerant lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully to a place where we can be more kind and more generous with each other, more compassionate, and more loving, of course. But the work starts with ourselves. We cannot do for others more than we have the capacity to do for ourselves. So the question is, do you love yourself completely, 100%, without a doubt? And for many people, the answer is no. So, how much do you love yourself? The totality, what is your totality of appreciation and love for yourself? 20%, 60%, 80%, whatever it is, okay? Based on judgments, preconditions, feelings of worth, et cetera, et cetera. So you only have the capacity to love to the extent that you love yourself. Mm-hmm. So you cannot love somebody else 100% if you love yourself only 60%. So your capacity to love is 60%, and that is the capacity that you have to love others. Mm-hmm. However, nothing says that you don't have the capacity, which you do, to love yourself completely, totally, unconditionally, 200%. Okay, so the Akashic Records can help us to begin to look at ourselves in every single aspect of the way that we have lived our life, the way that we lived our life today, and the way we want to live it into the future, and the way we lived it in the past, previous lives, because we can go and look. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, from that space, of being non-judgmental and non-critical, which is a difficult one for most people, right, is to truly be in the space of the heart, and from the space of the heart become the inner archaeologist. That's what I call it. Mm-hmm. The inner archaeologist is an individual that is willing to start digging deep within, and have the courage, and this is a key word, to have the courage to discover whatever is hidden within our conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind, and bring it up to the surface. So the inner archaeologist is going to go and dig. And as we dig, it's like digging a till, a till of previous cultures. The stronger culture conquers the weaker culture, and they build on top, et cetera, et cetera. So we are like that. And as we start digging in with the Akashic Records, we're going to go and find things that perhaps are not the nicest things at all. things that we have done, things that we don't remember. We start looking at our flaws. We start looking at our codependency, our addictions, all of these patterns that keep us bound to the way that we live our life, today. But nothing says that we cannot go beyond. So it's all of that is the relationship that we can create with ourselves, that when we find something that is ugly, that instead of just covering it up and saying, oh, forget it, I'm out of here, that you say, oh, there it is, thank you. And then you dig it out, you bring it to the surface. And when you bring something to the light that is of this nature, it dissolves. It just simply dissolves by simply observing it. So at the same time, in doing this work, we are accomplishing more and more for ourselves. And that which we do for ourselves is inevitably going to go and help those around us. So this is, to me, the most beautiful thing, to be able to look at our emotional body. How do you, every day, how do you act and react every day to life? What are the predominant emotions that exist in your life? Are the negative emotions, positive emotions? And if they're both positive, cultivate them. If they're negative, then use the guidance of the Akashic Records to figure out how to arrive at the root cause of that which is afflicting you. So it's not a good idea to think that if you suffer from anger, that you can simply eliminate anger. This is anger right here, right? So I'm going to look at anger right here, and I'm going to go with my Akashic Records, and I start cutting it, eliminate it, and it is gone now. Mm-hmm. I don't see it. But the next time something happens, our psyche is going to bring it right up again. So the anger is going to be present once again. And that is because we did not take time to look at the root cause. So by following the roots of that emotion, negative emotion, anger, jealousy, codependency, whatever, by following that and using the bending time ability that we can have with the Akashic Records, then we can go from the present and exploring like an archaeologist all the way down to that tiny, tiny, tiny moment in time and space, in this life or a previous life, where the seed was planted, and then the whole thing started happening. I'm an avid meditator, and I was meditating on a particular practice called Tummo practice in Buddhism, and the phenomena of Tummo, which is to produce heat, is relatively easy, but that's just phenomena. Anyone can do it in a few short months. But to go to the real goal of the meditation is to go and explore the nadi system in the body. And the nadi system is like the root system of trees. There are hundreds of tentacles that move throughout our body, and this is the air system within our body. So every time we have an emotion and we go, at the moment that we go, a little tiny bubble of air is trapped, and the emotion that made us go is going to go inside of that tiny bubble of air, and it's going to travel throughout our nadi system. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're so tiny and so hidden that we cannot see it. So here I am after a year and a half of practicing this meditation. I'm sitting there, I'm in India, and suddenly I perceive myself being completely and totally dissolved into a single atom or a single dot of light. Mm-hmm. And then the single dot of light start traveling throughout my nadi system to the tip of one of those tentacles or roots, to where I was able to observe a little bubble of air with an emotion, a moment in which I went from when I was 8 years old. Wow. And I have completely forgotten, because what made the happen was a very innocent desire to help my mother, mm-hmm. and in reality turned into something bad. Mm-hmm. So I remember when I was a kid, she used to take her car to the gas station, And the guy used to put the hose in there, and then the guy said, you know, whatever, $20 or something. One day she said, I have to go get gas. And I figure, you know, the child said, oh, I can help my mom. So I go to the garden, I take the garden hose out and fill the tank with water. They're innocent, but I ruined my mother's car. So obviously I got scolded because of that. So that innocent action had a big, and that was a trapped memory in the Nadi system. So with the tool of the Akashic Records, because my Akashic Records are open every time I meditate, I was able to little by little peel the layers, so I could finally get to a point of observing that little bubble of air. When I went, I observed it, I just went, wow. The flood of memories of that moment, of that incident came into my mind. And then I was able to simply smile and let it go. So even at that level, the healing of something that was so minuscule, but is still sitting there within our energy field, within our Nadi system. So it takes practice. You know, we practice and we practice and we practice. That's why discipline, dedication, and devotion. Discipline to the practice, the discipline of sitting every single day for however long you want, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, but have the discipline to sit. The dedication is the spiritual practice that you bring into your life. In my case, I open my Akashic Records, I sit in meditation, then I chant mantras, whatever, you know, my practice. So I have the dedication of sitting every day, the devotion, which is the faith. The devotion is my ability to sit and do my practice every day. And then devotion, discipline, dedication, and then devotion is faith. You know, faith in myself, not faith in a cross that is hanging somewhere or a statue somewhere else. Those are examples of what is possible. But faith is the faith within myself that I can accomplish what I want to accomplish. So that's why discipline, dedication, and devotion are so important to be able to progress in anything that we do. You know, not just spiritually. You know, if you want to learn how to play the flute, well, have the discipline, the dedication, and devotion to take your flute and play it every day for 5 minutes. You know, after 6 months, you will play a very good little tune, you know, but without it, you know, if you play once a week or once a month, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for that extra talk. I could really sit here with you and talk for hours about this subject. There's so much that's here, and just that additional idea of the devotion and dedication and discipline, I think I said that backwards, is so powerful. Yeah, and you know, it really is such a message of hope and an idea that this work that we're doing, it truly is so sacred. It really is so deep, and what an opportunity we have to have those memories come up, to have healing come up, even on a small, you know, minutia level, to have those things come up for healing, for transformation, for, you know, changing the energy around. I think that's wonderful. So thank you so much, Ernesto, for being here.
Pleasure.
Thank you for sharing your incredible wisdom with all of us. I'm so very grateful.
It is my pleasure. Thank you, Swara, for inviting me.
Thank you. And to all of our listeners, I hope that you have found this talk to be enlightening, interesting, have given you a feeling of hope and love at what is available in the Akashic Records. Thank you so much for being here today. And we will continue to have more of these talks, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.